From the Cronkite studios in downtown Phoenix, this is Cronkite News.
The first West Nile death of the season confirmed. We'll tell you how to protect yourself and your family from the virus when mosquitoes begin to swarm this monsoon.
Plus, the Arizona heat can be brutal, even deadly, especially for workers who spend most of the day in the sun. We'll tell you about a push in D.C. to protect those exposed to the heat the most.
Switch. Watch.
And we take you inside a Taekwondo studio that's teaching more than martial arts.
Cronkite News starts now.
Arizona's most populous county is reporting its first death from the West Nile virus this year. Good evening and welcome to Cronkite News on Arizona PBS. I'm Gabriela Collage.
And I'm Kevin Thompson. Thanks for joining us. Maricopa County Department of Public Health officials confirmed an older adult with other health conditions has died. The agency has recorded 27 cases of the virus in people so far.
Cronkite News reporter Jesse Jo Pauly spoke with the Environmental Services Department to find out more about the virus and just how deadly it can be.
Mosquitoes, those pesky insects that leave us with the itches, but they can also do a lot worse than mosquito bites. The bugs can transmit the West Nile virus, a disease that can cause flu-like symptoms or even death. Johnny Delaunay of Maricopa County Environmental Services explains why Arizona is seeing an increase in West Nile cases.
It could be due to the accumulation of water that we had through spring. We had a wet spring and a lot of water here in the valley, and that resulted in the birds staying longer.
Mosquitoes aren't the only culprit. They attract the virus from birds.
They bite the birds and then they get the virus, and as they go and bite other birds, they spread the virus, and they also spread it to humans.
While there is no cure for the West Nile virus, the best way to prevent the disease is to attack the source.
One is prevent mosquito breeding and also avoid mosquito bites. That's the second thing. How we do this, the first thing is make sure we go around our house and that we don't have any container that will be containing water. Even a little bit of water on a water bottle cap will be good enough for mosquitoes to breed.
Although only 1 in 5 infected will experience any symptoms of West Nile virus, people should be on the lookout for fevers, headaches, body aches, and muscle weakness. There have been 27 human cases of West Nile virus in Arizona so far, so it's important to always be aware.
Fight the bite day and night is what we say, but particularly during dawn and dusk, that's when the mosquitoes that could carry West Nile are most active.
For Cronkite News, I'm Jesse Jo Pauly reporting.
If you notice an area that seems perfect for mosquito breeding, contact the Maricopa County Environmental Services immediately.
And remember to stay safe, especially during the monsoon, by wearing bug repellent and long-sleeve clothing.
Authorities believe a body recovered from the Colorado River in the Grand Canyon is believed to be that of a California man reported missing from a commercial river trip last month. The 66-year-old was last seen going on a sightseeing day hike about 2 weeks ago. The National Park Service conducted a multi-day search and rescue operation and is investigating the incident.
Nike is going forward with plans to make soles for Nike Air shoes in a Phoenix suburb. The shoemaker confirmed its plans yesterday, even though last week Governor Doug Ducey blocked state money for the facility when Nike pulled a flag-themed shoe from the market. The move came after former NFL quarterback Colin Kaepernick raised concerns, saying the Revolutionary Era emblem known as the Betsy Ross flag recalls an era when black people were enslaved. Now, many Arizonans are questioning where Doug Ducey stands on the matter. Since yesterday, he tweeted, quote, "This is good news for Arizona and Goodyear. 500 plus jobs, over $184 million in capital investment. Arizona is open for business, and we welcome Nike to our state." But last week, Ducey seemed to have the opposite opinion, tweeting, quote, "Arizona's economy is doing just fine without Nike. We don't need to suck up to companies that consciously denigrate our nation's history."
Developing now, Labor Secretary Alex Acosta resigns after coming under fire for his role in a plea deal with accused sex trafficker Jeffrey Epstein back in 2008.
It would be selfish for me to stay in this position and continue talking about a case that's 12 years old rather than about the amazing economy we have right now.
The arrest in the federal Indictment of financier Jeffrey Epstein on sex trafficking charges brought renewed scrutiny of the plea deal with Epstein made with Acosta when he was the U.S. attorney. Acosta's resignation will take effect 1 week from Friday. The National Weather Service has put Phoenix under an excessive heat warning, meaning you should stay cool and stay inside. But what if you can't do those things because you work outdoors? Well, as Cronkite News reporter Julian Paras shows us, some lawmakers in D.C. are pushing for protections for people who work in the heat.
To provide employees a workplace.
Warehouse worker Javier Rodriguez says he doesn't want to work in dangerously hot conditions, but he's afraid to say otherwise.
The supervisor coming with you and asking you, "Are you feel good? Are you okay?" And sometimes, like, we scared, like, say, "Yes, I feel good," but in reality, we don't feel good.
That's why House Democrats are calling for federal regulations to protect workers like Rodriguez, as well as farm workers, construction workers, or anyone who could find themselves working in excessive heat. One of the bill's sponsors, Arizona Representative Raul Grijalva, said at a rally earlier this week that Congress needs to act because this administration won't.
This Department of Labor and this secretary have done little, if anything, to extend worker protections to the workers of this country.
The Asuncion Valdivia Act is named for a farm worker who died in 2004 of heat stroke after 10 hours in the field. The bill would require the Occupational Safety and Health Administration to set standards that would protect workers from such conditions. Members of the House Education and Labor Committee agreed that it's an important issue, but not all thought Congress is the best body to solve it.
I think we need to think long and hard before we prescribe a bunch of things in a statute directed at an agency about how they're going to carry out their job, because I'm not sure we know enough to do that.
Brian Little, the Director of Labor Affairs for the California Farm Bureau, said a standard is fine, but not the same standard for everyone.
I think that makes sense to do that, but it doesn't necessarily make sense to try to impose a regulation like that on a dental office, because they're just going to have different potential hazards than a lot of other different types of employment settings are going to have.
But Rodriguez believes it does make sense, and a federal law would let workers rest without worrying about losing their jobs or risking their lives.
You have the right to rest and drink water in the shade, cooling when you feel better back to work.
In Washington, Julian Paras, Cronkite News.
Taking a live look now at downtown Phoenix, it's another hot, sunny day across the valley.
Ryan Sundin is standing by with a look at our weekend weather forecast.
All right, guys, so let's take a look around the country for tomorrow if you want to get out there and go have fun on the weekend. So it's going to be 111 in Phoenix tomorrow. It's going to be 70s up in the California area and then 90s down here in Florida. But what I would say is be very careful when you're going down to the southeast because there is a hurricane in effect, Hurricane Barry. It's the first tropical storm of the season. So be very careful if you're heading down there. Let's bring it back to Arizona. Once again, it's going to be 111 in Phoenix. Grand Canyon is going to be a little bit nicer. It's going to be 86 up there, but 114 in Yuma. So it's going to be a really hot day tomorrow, and let's just be careful about it. And then tomorrow, the highs in the valley are going to be 111, and then pretty much 106 is the coolest we have up there in Cave Creek. But tomorrow, we also have to be very careful because there's going to be poor air quality. The dust and the gust is going to be brushing up all these particles in the air, so we need to be very careful on those loose gravel roads because it's going to be very slippery. And then for the 7-day forecast, we're going to have 111 for the weekend, and then Monday it's going to be 114, but it's going to start cooling down a little bit after that, and we're going to hit 113 on Tuesday, and then 108 is going to be our low for the week on Wednesday and Thursday, and then bringing it back up on Friday at 109. Live from the Weather Center, I'm Ryan Sundin.
The Arizona Department of Environmental Quality is doing their part to reduce blowing dust during the monsoon. They recently sprayed a soil stabilizer over 150 acres of land along the I-10 in Pinal County to bind the loose soil together.
The environmentally friendly soil stabilizer forms a crust on top of the upper layer of the desert. That prevents or reduces the amount of blowing dust during high wind events. Also, as it rains throughout the year, it reactivates the stabilizer to reform that crust to prevent blowing dust in future years.
A team of researchers at the University of Arizona is also looking into the effectiveness of the soil stabilizer and how it can help prevent visibility problems with drivers.
Inside a Taekwondo studio in Chandler, students of all ages stream through the door, looking to improve their coordination, burn off energy, or maybe get in shape. But they end up leaving with much more than that. Cronkite News photo reporter Anya Magnuson takes us inside.
Hi, I'm Master Johnny Nguyen. I'm a 5th degree black belt here at MB Taekwondo, and I've been training in Taekwondo for about 27 years.
Strong balance. Let me see double switch. Walk. Let me see triple switch. 1, 2, 3.
My name is Isaiah Graves. I'm one of the assistant instructors here at NBT, that's Twin Bros Taekwondo. I've been training for about the last 6 years. When I started about when I was 19 years old. I've been training here with Johnny Nguyen, and I wouldn't change it for the world. I started martial arts early in life. I was about 7 or 8 years old when I fell in love with kung fu movies, and it just went from there. My mom seen me kicking everything and punching everything in the house, and she was like, okay, we're gonna put you in something.
Growing up, it started off as a recreational sport, but it became developmental. It turned into a passion where I wanted to do it every day. I wanted to just be surrounded by it at all times.
We're going to be doing some burpees today. Yeah, backward.
I've taught for at least 10 years now, and I've taught many different age groups, from college groups to teenagers to kids to even adults. And that's something you just have to adapt to. We try to have the atmosphere at the dojo kind of help them understand the respect and the protocol here.
I actually started with Shotokan karate, and then after I was done with that, that took me 9 grueling years to get my black belt in, and after that I was like, what's next? What else is there? And the next best thing for me, I thought, was to learn some new skills with Taekwondo, learn how to fly.
Each individual has their own goals. So a child might want to focus on more coordination and listening skills, where a parent or an adult will focus on physical fitness, nutrition, and weight loss. So from there, I just have to adapt and accordingly. I think we have a nice blend, a good balance of fun, exciting, but also disciplined and strict.
I also was sort of a little bit one of those angry children with a little bit of a chip on my shoulder for what reason I don't know of, but martial arts really got that straightened out because I realized I wasn't the baddest kid out there, and I had to be humbled a couple times before I knew I have to be able to control my anger and emotions or somebody could get to me, you know.
Hands up, off the floor, 20 seconds. Ready, ha!
In 2007, I was at the World Championships. We're at the United States National Team Banquet, okay, a welcoming banquet, and a Grandmaster spoke, and he told me something very interesting. He told me that one of the greatest things that you get from practicing Taekwondo is that you meet good people. Here at Taekwondo, we're surrounded by positive influence. We really try to work together as a team to better ourselves.
When you lose, say you learn. You learn. You learn, right? And then when you win, you're actually helping the other person learn as well. Does that make sense? Yes, sir. Also, okay, so when you guys are playing this game today, no bad sportsmanship, no sore losers, okay? Yes, sir? Yes, sir. All right, everyone stand up.
What we like to do here is go by our tenets. And we say this after every single class with the kids. As a dedicated student of the martial arts, I'll live my life by the principles of black belt. Modesty, courtesy, integrity, perseverance, self-control, and indomitable spirit. And I feel like I've been able to, since 19 years old, I've been able to apply each of those tenets to my life. And I just felt a change. It makes you happier. It makes you more of a well-rounded person when you just understand how to go about daily life, just, you know, just being a positive role model for other people to see and be like, hey, I want to be like that guy.
NB Taekwondo offers classes for kids starting at 4 years old and provides lessons all the way to adults.
They're currently running their summer camp programs, which help children develop skills such as listening, respect, discipline, coordination, and self-confidence. Coming up on Cronkite News, a look back at some of our top stories this week, including Starbucks apologizing after 6 officers were asked to leave a Valley store. What this potentially says about the public's trust in law enforcement after the break.
And we reveal the most dangerous place for pedestrians to walk in America. It's actually right here in the Valley. Don't go away.
All of its children had come to the Mother Church of Country Music. It was almost like a badge of honor that you had to bring your culture with you to the table. That's why Bob Wills and his guys brought us Western music. That's why Hank Williams brought the South with him from honky tonks. Johnny Cash brought the black land dirt of Arkansas. Bill Monroe brought music out of Kentucky bluegrass music. Willie Nelson brought his poetry from Texas. Patsy Cline brought her heartache from Virginia. I mean, it was the most wonderful parade of sons and daughters of America that brought their hearts and their souls and their experiences, and it gave us a great era in country music.
An incident involving Tempe police and Starbucks made national news, sparking conversations about the trust people have in law enforcement.
Earlier this week, I spoke with an assistant professor in the School of Criminology and Criminal Justice at ASU who researched why teens seem to have the biggest trust issues when it comes to cops. This Tempe Starbucks, located on McKellips and Scottsdale Roads, is where a customer asked a barista that 6 Tempe police officers be removed on the 4th of July. The reason? According to reports, the person felt uncomfortable in their presence. It's an issue Professor Adam Fine knows well.
And what this study uniquely shows is that across the last decade, kids' perceptions of legal authority, like law enforcement and the justice system, have become consistently more and more negative every year.
Law enforcement agencies have recently been making headlines, and not always for the right reasons. Phoenix police officers were caught on cell phone video having an altercation with a young African-American couple back in May that has ignited rallies and protests. Fine says these kinds of images do have an effect on younger adults.
Kids today are growing up in an age where we are having national conversations about policing, about biased policing, about unjust policing, about police relationships with the community. We see social media coverage in general about law enforcement actions, oftentimes very unjust, oftentimes biased, sometimes played out of proportion.
And while agencies like Phoenix PD are taking steps to try and regain the public's trust, Professor Fine says it won't be an easy road.
So this becomes a public safety issue. The more the public does not trust law enforcement, I would say the less safe we actually are as a society.
A lot of you talking on social media this week ranks Arizona's 7th congressional district the most dangerous place to walk in America. The report just released by Smart Growth America shows 344 pedestrians were killed in the 7th district alone from 2008 to 2017. Statistics released by the state also show 1,764 car crashes involved pedestrians last year. Cronkite News is tracking a new bill titled the Complete Streets Act of 2019. If passed, it would require the state to fund safe street projects like bike lanes and crosswalks. To see the top 5 most dangerous places to be a pedestrian in the country, including a list of pedestrian fatality rates, just go to our website, cronkitenews.azpbs.org.
This past Wednesday, health officials announced the first death in Maricopa County related to the hepatitis A outbreak.
Individuals most at risk of contracting this disease are those who are homeless, drug users, and people recently or currently incarcerated.
Cronkite News reporter Amanda Slee spoke to one man who's at high risk of getting infected.
Just last night, health officials recorded their first death in the Maricopa County related to the hepatitis A outbreak. Those who are homeless, drug users, and people who are currently or were recently incarcerated are among the groups at high risk for contracting this disease.
Esteban Park in South Phoenix is more than just a park for one man.
I come out to the park, use the restroom, stuff like that, wash up. I also got people that come by and bring me water.
That's because he lives underground in a makeshift house he dug.
I got it covered up where you can't really tell it's there.
He is one of 6,298 total homeless persons reported last year in Maricopa County. With the current hepatitis A outbreak, this entire population is one of 3 groups in the highest risk of contracting this disease, but anyone can become infected according to officials.
Hepatitis A is spread fecal-orally, which means if you've got a small amount of fecal matter or stool on your hand and you're preparing food, you can get that into the food.
This can also be spread through person-to-person contact. That's why health officials say the best way to prevent it from spreading is to wash your hands.
It has all the hygienic stuff so you can get clean and all that kind of stuff.
A founder at one nonprofit is driving around to help spread awareness and provide people with tools to keep up with their hygiene.
I think it's important for them to have all the hygienic stuff because if we don't give it to them, mostly for the homeless who don't go to shelters, it could get more, it could get spread.
Hepatitis A causes an inflammation of the liver, yellowing of the skin, fever, and nausea. And even worse,
there is no treatment for hepatitis A.
After Ruben found out about this outbreak today, he says he's going to keep living his life just like normal.
If I get it, I get it. It's just a way of life, I guess, for me.
Health officials say they're working with these communities to provide awareness and free immunization for high-risk groups. In the studio, Amanda Slee, Cronkite News.
This was one of our top trending stories online this week, cops being able to use CBD products. We shared the story from a New Times article and our Facebook and Twitter pages lit up. CBD is an active ingredient in cannabis, but unlike THC, it does not get you high. It just helps soothe the symptoms.
Well, last month, the Arizona Peace Officer Standards and Training Board issued a statement clarifying that it, quote, does not view the use or possession of over-the-counter products containing CBD as illegal.
So basically, officers can use CBD products as long as they have less than 0.3% of THC in them.
We wanted to know what you thought about this, so we asked, and here's what some of you had to say. Mata wrote, "These products are no different than any products using plant ingredients."
And Christy agreed, saying if it helps with their stress and addresses PTSD, let them have up to the maximum allowed by law. It's not too late to join the conversation. Just go to our Cronkite News Facebook or Twitter page and chime in.
One of our more enlightening stories this week focused on the impact of cyberbullying and how it can affect a teen's self-esteem and mental health.
Bain Froney introduced us to a student who survived from many years of cyberbullying and is now on a mission to prevent it from happening to others.
A former middle schooler said relentless bullying went on for years. She said that other teens share her struggle.
Bullying for me started when I was in kindergarten and it went up till I was in 8th grade.
Grace Martinez, now headed into her senior year of high school, had a hard time in middle school. Her classmates bullied her on social media.
You're hiding behind a screen when you attack somebody, so you don't get punishment for it.
Her family was in the dark.
We just never saw the signs of the bullying because my daughter, she has a very bubbly personality. She's like very happy-go-lucky.
And, I did my usual ritual at home. I ate dinner, I did the dishes. I was somebody else in front of my parents and my family, and I was somebody else in front of my friends.
But behind her bedroom door, Martinez changed.
I got to the point where I didn't want to feel the pain they were giving me, so I wanted to feel something physical. So that's when I started cutting myself.
Classmates created a hate page about her on the social media app Vine, making fun of her looks.
Instead of it being in person, it was all online, so everybody could read it.
According to the Pew Research Center, 59% of U.S. teens have experienced cyberbullying, and 42% of those teens have been called offensive names. But help may be on the way. Arizona State University researchers are creating an app that detects bullying on Instagram, similar to one they developed for Facebook.
It's basically a machine learning based model that means learns from data to be able to predict in the future instances of cyberbullying.
The app for parents would alert them to recurring insults and offer ways to help.
Or feature that is able to produce a personalized list of resources, since the app understands why cyberbullying happened for that specific teenager.
The Martinez family also has recommendations for parents and young people.
Making sure you have those conversations so you know more or less what's going on when they leave your house.
Grace Martinez is now a student ambassador for the Speak Up, Stand Up, Save a Life, an annual conference that spreads awareness about bullying and how to stop it.
It's really great to see them come out, how to prevent bullying and suicide and all those kinds of things.
If Grace had the chance to meet her bullies face to face, she would tell them,
I hope you are in a better place, and I hope that you're going to be a better person and that your words aren't going to matter.
If you or someone you know is being cyberbullied, tell a parent or trusted adult, and don't be afraid to ask for help. In the Broadcast Center, Bain Froney, Cronkite News.
Cronkite News is proud to be the news division of Arizona PBS.
Here's what's coming up on Arizona Horizon and PBS NewsHour.
On the next Arizona Horizon, it's the Journalists Roundtable. We will have more on the governor now welcoming Nike to Arizona after blasting the company just a week ago. And the Corporation Commission decides to let a contentious APS rate hike stand.
I'm Yamisha Sendor in Denver, Colorado. Marijuana businesses are booming, but some are wondering, is the green rush too white? That's on the next PBS NewsHour.
That's it for Cronkite News tonight. Thanks for joining us.
Have a great weekend, and we'll see you back here on Monday.